Hello and welcome to the Kentucky office of Archer Point. I hope I find you happy and healthy. My name is Faithy Robertson and I'm a Microsoft Dynamics NAV developer here at Archer Point. For more information on who we are, please visit our website at www.archerpoint.com. On the website, you'll find blogs from other developers and other project managers and sales folks. I'm sure you'll like those as well. Today I'm going to show you how to make your NAV inventory valuation report print to Excel using a Codeunit of functions specifically for writing and creating an Excel spreadsheet. But first, let's talk a little bit about spreadsheet design from a NAV report perspective. When creating a spreadsheet from a NAV report, there are three specific areas that we write. We write the report title lines, the report headings, and the report detail. When writing the title lines, we should write a few extra things that you might not find on the average spreadsheet. These include the NAV report name, the user date and time that the report was created, any report filters that are used, as well as any options from the report. A report option is something the report requires to run. Using the inventory valuation report as an example, the as of date is an option we will want to place in the title lines of the spreadsheet. Keep in mind as you create your report that this report will live outside of NAV and could be passed around. Knowing what filters were used to create the report, the company that it was ran from, and when it was created are important. Next, we want to add our column headings. I like to use the sunny color of canary yellow on mine, but that's just my preference. You can design the spreadsheet using any colors, fonts, font sizes you like. And lastly, we write the detail lines. This is the actual data. I usually begin by taking a look at the printed NAV report and writing down the column headings and the data source fields. That keeps you from having to go back and forth to the sections as you're writing the code. It also gives you an opportunity to see if you're going to need to bring anything down to the row level. Now, let me explain what I mean by that. For example, if you're grouping your data by location in the NAV report, you're going to want to create a column and put the location on the row instead. As the rows in a spreadsheet can get resorted, if you have a separate row with the location on it and the user sorts the data, it's going to end up unassociated with the rows that follow it. So just create a new column for data like that and add it to the row. And remember, your Excel report does not have to match your NAV report. Would you like to print a negative profit sales line in red? You can't do that in NAV, but you can do it in Excel. Do you need more columns on your report than are available in NAV? No worries. Excel goes out to column XFD. That's 16,384 columns. Now, if your report needs more columns than that, you need to be designing a database, not a spreadsheet. Now, we don't add totals to the bottom of our Excel spreadsheets. Just like the headings for groups that are going to be meaningless as the report is resorted, totals will be meaningless as data changes as well. Instead, let your users enter the Excel formulas for the totals they want. Let's talk about the NAV Codeunit that we're going to use to create our spreadsheet. It's really just a Codeunit of functions that can be called from any NAV report. I've used this repeatedly for creating Excel reports, and I find it's very simple to use and has a lot of functionality. You just have to understand a few variables that you'll pass to the functions and you're good to go. Once you've used them, you understand them, and there's no learning curve. In the documentation trigger, you'll see all of the functions listed, and it's sort of a table of contents of the functions. This will help you to find what you're using, since the actual code is sometimes hard to relate to for the actions that are done in Excel. Let's scroll to the very bottom of the code unit. Come up a little bit, and we're going to look for the function called Excel Begin right here. From this function down, you have the only functions you really need to complete an Excel report from NAV. These functions are actually just a grouping of other functions, such as creating the workbook, the spreadsheet, and writing the column headings. At the very bottom, right here, I've added some sample NAV instructions to a function called Sample Report Statements. This code unit is completely deleted using brackets, which I prefer not to use, but to make the copy paste of all of these statements easier, brackets was the way to go. However, if you will note, we did document the fact that it was completely deleted pretty dramatically. You can really just copy and paste these into NAV, modify them for the report that you want to write, and voila, you've got the code to output a report to Excel. There are two ways to create a report from NAV. One is visible and one is invisible. Why would you create a report that was invisible? Well, that's a good question. Let me explain. When NAV is writing to an Excel spreadsheet, NAV is in charge of the Excel GUI. But NAV is a gentleman. The moment that the user clicks on the spreadsheet screen, NAV bows out somewhat ungracefully and allows the user to control the spreadsheet. I say ungracefully because it gives a great big fat error about the automation. Now, to prevent errors, you simply turn off the GUI before you start writing to the Excel spreadsheet and create it in invisible stealth mode. NAV then writes to Excel undercover, and when the report is complete, we just issue a command to make it visible again, and the GUI is returned to the user along with the full spreadsheet. No GUI, no errors. That's why you will see an Excel Begin and an Excel Begin Hide function. Excel Begin Hide operates in stealth mode. You'll notice here it calls a function called Create Invisible Workbook. Excel Begin is still in the code unit because, well, I never get rid of anything. Now, let's just use this baby and create an Excel report from the inventory valuation. Now, I have already done this and added the code, but I'm going to show you how to do it step by step. Here's my inventory valuation report. And here's my Excel code unit. And I'm going to make this window a little bit bigger just so that they don't feel like they're inferior to each other. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add on our request form and our request page a little boolean that says create Excel report. This is going to give our user the option of creating it in Excel or just in NAV. Now we're going to add the global variables we need, and it's as easy as cut and paste. Let's come down and we're going to click within this bottom function, sample report statements, and we're going to view our locals, and we're just going to simply copy them all right in as globals, and you'll notice I've done this right here. Just trust me, copy them all in, you're fine. By no means am I telling you that you shouldn't understand what they are. I'm just saying at this point, you can copy paste if you want to. I think if you're going to use the Codeunit to its full potential, adding things to it, making it your very own, you're going to want to know what these things are. You're going to want to know what column number represents, and range name, and sheet number. So by all means, once you get the code into your inventory valuation report the way I'm showing you, go back and look at what we're sending it. What is the variable name that I'm passing my sheet name under, and so on and so forth. It'll mean a lot more to you. In the inventory valuation report, we're going to add 3 functions. We're going to add sheet setup. Now, sheet setup is going to do exactly that. It's going to set up the sheet. It will write the first 2 parts of our spreadsheet, which we talked about, the titles and the report headings. The second is sheet detail. It's going to write the detailed data lines. And then last, we're going to have sheet summary. Sheet summary will adjust our column width and save our final report before making it visible to the user. Now we just add the code for each function. Now I've already done this, but I'm going to show you where the code comes from. Okay, sheet setup, we're just going to come in here. If you notice in the Codeunit, I've marked right here is where the sheet setup begins. And you simply just copy. Notice report options here. I've commented out. If your report has options, you're going to want to put that in. You're going to want to reference the options that are there. You may want to do an if it's not blank, then kind of code. Use it and make it your own. And you're just going to copy all of this until you get to the dotted line. Okay? And you're going to put that over here. And once you do, you're going to change a few things. Insert your sheet name. I've put inventory valuation. Insert the report title. I've added inventory valuation there. And then you're going to come down, you're going to reference your report filters variable. Any options, you're going to give them their full name. Okay? And as you scroll down, you're going to see we start writing our column titles. And I'll make this a little bit bigger for you so it makes more sense. Okay, now notice we've turned on a variable called box, and we have turned on way up here bold. I don't put box on up here because we don't want box on our titles. We only want it around our sheet column headings, and box is this little square around these fields. And I've come in here, and if you notice here, our very first column counter is set to equal 1. That's column A. And then we come in, and each time after that, we increment by 1. Very important, because otherwise you're going to get some really strange results, like your entire spreadsheet shows up with just the last column in column A. That's not cool. Okay, and here's our column headings: item, description, base unit of measure. Notice I've picked the color canary. When you go in and you look at the Excel right column heading, you'll see all the variables that are possible to send there: canary, light blue, light green. Pick what you want. If you want red or something else, by all means do that, but do understand that some colors are not pleasing to the eye. Bright red, bright green, I'd shy away from those. I'm also passing bold and box. They determine whether this title in my column heading is bold and whether or not it has a box around it. And then I turn them off because we don't want that passed on to our detail lines that we're going to do next. And we store away our last column number. That's important when it comes to widening your columns, which is the last thing that we're going to do. Okay, once we get that done, we're going to come back over here and we're going to take care of our sheet detail function, right? So let's come over. Here's sheet detail. And we're just going to take our little stuff here and just copy it out, bring it over, modify what we need. Here I'm going to put all of the variables that are printing inside a format statement. Now let me tell you why. Numbers are kind of funny when you pass them to Excel, because unless you pass them as text, anything that has leading zeros like an item number 00100101 will come out 10101. That's not the same item number. But if you pass it under a text format, you have no problems. This is the font that I'm going to write it as, font size 10. If I have a special type of format like decimal, 5 positions, or integer, I can put that in here. If you look at the Excel right column data function, you'll see all of those that are possible. And again, if you want something extra like decimal 4 or decimal 10, you can do that. Just add a new function. We are incrementing after our column A, 1 each time, so that we're going from left to right. Now, did a little something special here with remaining quantity, because if remaining quantity comes out with a whole number, we don't want to add decimals all the way down through there. A lot of folks have their inventory stored in integer values, and you won't see a decimal in their remaining quantity. So there's really no need in printing that decimal. However, if we happen to come across one due to who knows what, we want to be able to show the full value. So here I've just decided that I'm going to divide it by 1, and if the remainder is not 0, I'm going to show it as a decimal. Otherwise, I'm going to show it as an integer. That's all we're doing here. And we come on down. We're going to put in our unit cost with 5 decimals. That's it. That's really it. Each time down, we're passing our column counter, which is set here. We're passing the row, which we increase each time we come through here. Current row, sheet number +1. And that actually begins being set in our sheet setup. So it knows where our column headings are, and it starts just adding 1 to it and going down through there. We also pass sheet number. If you are working on say a sales report, and you want a specific sheet for each salesperson, you can do that. All you have to do is write your column headings to each and every sheet based on the salesperson, and you can even name your sheets according to the salesperson code. And then as you're writing the data, you just need to pass the correct sheet number. No big deal. Okay, now that we've got that in and we have the code we need to write our detail, we're going to do one last little function, sheet summary. Sheet summary is simple. It's just one line. Okay. Now what this does, the Excel in function actually calls several different things. It saves your file to the file name. It does an automatic with function on your columns. But one thing we don't like whenever we do automatic with, which is like this thing, is notice how big this column A gets. It gets as big as our largest title. So what we do is we come back and we decide we want our column width to be a certain value, right? So when you're doing that in NAV, all you have to do is put in the value that you want right here, and that's going to call the functions from Excel to reset that one to 14 after it does the auto width. Makes your report look a whole lot nicer. Now that we've got our 3 functions that are going to write our Excel report inside the inventory valuation, we just have to call them. Okay, now think with me. Where would I want to do my sheet setup? Well, we're asking the user at the beginning if they want Excel output. So enter on pre-report. We just come in and we say if create Excel, which is the Boolean box, then sheet setup. Bing, it runs. When would we want to close out the report? on post report. You have create Excel, then sheet summary. Now, tricky part. When do we want to put out our details? This is tricky on some reports, not so much on this one. It just always seems so simple to write it from where the actual data is being written. If you're doing things based on which section, for example, a show output based on this variable, that kind of thing, you may end up calling this routine in more than one place. Just be sure you condition it along with everything else. I'm going to show you right in here in this section, and I purposely did this so that I'd remember to show you. I have here specific reasons and things, variables I'm going to check to determine when I write it to NAV. I have not put them around this. And if I don't, you know what's going to happen? I'm going to get things on my Excel report that I did not get on my NAV report because maybe my inventory value was equal to 0. So pay attention to your current report show outputs. Mimic the same thing on your Excel output. That's going to write our report right there. And that's all there is to it. It is simple. We're going to close that out. Let's go run it, just for kicks and giggles. Okay, I'm going to limit this a bit because we don't want it to run all day, right? And what file do we want to write it to? Anything will work. Notice Excel just opened up down here. But when I look at it, I don't see anything. Stealth mode. Now it shows me my report. That's all there is to it. Now imagine what you can do with the Codeunit. There are functions in it that will create Excel charts as well as just spreadsheets. I once did a report that was 1 page per customer and used a pie graph to show the salesperson the item types that were being purchased over the last year by the customer. This gave the salesperson a very visual idea of what the customer's buying habits were, and they loved it. Consider the times when you wished you could color something in NAV based on a situation in the data, like on an AR aging report when the customer's over its credit limit. Do you want to make that line red or bold? You can do that in Excel. Have fun with the Codeunit. Get creative with it. I'd love to hear how you use it and the new functions you've added to it. Until next time, stay happy and stay healthy. Goodbye, friends.